facing you, that it's a mirror image. And then when I turn my back to you, that will be the same side. So that might be the one of the biggest challenges. And then anything that you see where the hands are working in pairs, they should be pretty easy to follow. So I always start off with a series of exercises in a shoulder width stance. So what I just did there was pulled the heels together. There's a 90-degree position there where the two heels meet, and we're in a shoulder width stance. Hands up to this shoulder height position. It's a round circle. It's a hoop position, and we turn. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay? Let me turn this around. Put this on the waist. I'm going to do a side bend. 1, 2, 3. Take it nice and slow. 1, 2, 3. So it's a bit of a reach and a stretch, but if you have a little trouble with this, keep trying. 1, 2, 3. Nice and slow. 1, 2, 3. The upper hand is in front of the forehead. 1, 2, 3. So when you watch the movements, use the reference points that you see. So this is a upper position and a waist position with the hand against the small of your waist. Okay? So the curvature here is the part that rests here. So it's like a fork. Okay? And we'll go to the other side again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next. We'll do a little bit of a stretch. Reach up and down. Those go to your right. Go to your left. Center. Inhale. Exhale. So breathing in, we lift. Breathing out, we turn the palms and press down. Once the hands are by the side, we lift up about shoulder height. We bend forward from the hips, put the hands on the thighs, and just kind of slide down, just to brace yourself so you don't just drop into the position. So we're turning and then back to center. So the fact that we're in that position, it's going to give you a little bit of a stretch. And if you're not used to this, it's actually going to be something that you have to learn to do by releasing some of the tension in your body. So everything that we're doing is creating motion. And if you have movement, then you can't be rigid, or allows your body to release that tension so you can't be rigid, so you begin to move. So as a motor skill, you want to activate sort of the motor neurons that help you begin to turn and turn. So if this is a movement that you're not doing, then your body has to go through a process of either learning these movements gradually or create the movement, because we're creatures of habit and we also mimic the movement. So just copy along the best you can and you'll actually start to recognize these movements. Okay, now here we're doing a circle. It's not a big circle, just learning to create some roundness in the motion. Relax your ankles, relax your neck. Okay, just let the body create a gentle circle. Okay, so this actually works a little bit of shifting from side to side, and that helps you sort of heighten your response to your position. So we're standing here, but we're moving and creating a circle, and your feet, your body's responding to this, so you're not tipping over. And because it's done slowly, it allows your musculature to release and create the motion by either mimicking the movement or voluntarily creating that action. Okay, next, we're going to cross the forearms like this, bend the knees. We're going to hold the kneecaps and make a few circles. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we did 10 that way. Let's go 10 the other way. Switch the hands. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Okay, hands on your waist again. Okay, turning the head. There's a neck exercise. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, and stop. Now back and forth. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And center. Tilt to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Down. Circular movements. 1, 2, 3. This wire is interfering with that. Now go, okay, go the other direction. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hands up. Inhale. Exhale. Palms up. Pull toward the face. Elbows up. Hands to the side. Up on your toes and down. Okay, we'll try that again. 1, 2, 3. Up on your toes as the hands go out to the side. As the hands go out to the side, inhale. And up on your toes. Exhale as your heels approach the floor. Okay, so that's a deep breathing exercise. And exhale. So when we breathe, try to breathe through your nose. Inhale and exhale through the nose. The tongue touches the roof of your mouth. That helps to prevent the breathing through the mouth. And work it until you can do this without thinking about it. Try to breathe like this, not just in the Tai Chi, but it becomes more of a natural way of breathing. It's, in a sense, it's unnatural for what people have been accustomed to, because you think you need to breathe through your mouth to get all that oxygen. But if you don't have a problem with this and you don't have a nasal blockage, then breathe through your nose and you can filter out the air. All right. Now we're here. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, try again. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, next we're going to pivot on the balls of the feet, then the heel. You can, if you have trouble doing it together like this, do it one at a time. 1, 2, which might be even trickier. But you end up in a V stance, and we're going to turn the shoulders from side to side. Just relax the shoulders and let the arms swing and wrap your body like this. If your shoulders are tense, then you're going to be doing it like this. So let it go. Let the body go. So everything that we're doing is increasing range of motion and activating, the right muscles to create the action. So we don't hold the positions because that develops tension. So we're developing sort of a balance between, one direction and the other. And center. Okay, shake it out. Okay, next we're going to do a little leg work. So we did some upper body type exercise. Now, they're fundamentals really, but we're in this 90-degree position like in the beginning to a shoulder width stance. Okay? ball of the foot, ball of the foot, ball of the foot, ball of the foot. So you know what I mean by ball of the foot? You're pivoting on the ball of the foot. Okay, so when we go like this, you see, my knee goes forward, then you end up on the ball of the foot. My knee goes forward, you end up on the ball of the foot. So it does take a little control, and eventually you'll develop that natural response that you don't have weight on the pivoting foot. So this is going from 90 to square. So that becomes a shoulder width stance. Then we pivot and turn to this direction, go forward and back, and then we pivot again. And then we pivot and then face the opposite direction, and then we go forward and back. Then we pivot 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, heel, toe, toe, heel, forward and back, heel, toe, toe, heel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Toe, heel, forward and back, heel, toe, toe, heel. Now let's go forward and back. Just stay on this side for a little bit. Forward. Now you see the knees, they alternate. So this is called a sitting position or empty stance. And you go forward as a leaning position, but it's also known as an archer stance. So you're forward and back. So that's something you can practice just to develop the coordination. But in the beginning, you might get some resistance in the legs where they don't want to fold because you're so used to doing things on this physical level that you think it requires a lot of strength or muscular. It's really just letting gravity work with your legs, and you let the front knee kind of fold by yielding to the extension of the back leg. Now when the front knee straightens, the back knee yields to that. So that's a concept, that's an idea of a give and take where the body develops a relationship. So if the right and the left sides are working together like we're shifting from side to side, then your body becomes aware that in order to move in one direction, something has to happen to allow that to go. So when we go like this and we shift, we go like this and shift, we start to build, that mechanism. Okay, so that's really what we're doing on the opening and closing of the heels. And then when we do this, we turn in this direction, and we turn back to the front. Then when we turn toe here, we turn in this direction, and we turn back to the front when we do this. So by watching, eventually you'll figure out that that's what you're doing. It's actually, all of these are great drills for you to do to take you in a direction. So once we're familiar with that, we can turn in a direction by pivoting and pivoting like this or like this. So that's good to steer you in a direction, especially if you're walking forward and then you want to change directions. If you're walking forward and you change directions, that's kind of what should happen. So just for instance, we're going 1, 2, 3, and we change directions. We take the front foot and steer in the direction, or whichever side is forward or in the direction is what's going to do the pivot and lead you in that direction. lead you in that direction. So you see the toe-heel position is something that you get familiar with. Now, if it's behind you like this, and you're on the ball of your foot, then spin off the ball of your foot to take you that way. If you're in the forward position, you're on the heel, then use your heel to take you in that direction. So it becomes an awareness and also a sensitivity, because once you're here, you've learned to work off of whichever foot is in contact. So that's why when we do a lot of this pivoting, it gives you a sense of what's in contact. What we try to avoid is to move like this, because we really don't have any sense of where between this and this is, because there's a gap. So by not gapping when we move, then we have a grounding and we have a sense of where our foot is in space. So that brings in a whole another level of sensitivity that you may not be paying attention to. So sensitivity is feeling. So we begin to feel the ground. Now, if you want to improve your balance, improve your mobility, and heighten any of this type of thing, you have to heighten your awareness and your consciousness of position as we move in a step or if we're standing. So sensitivity from the soles of your feet will start to respond and give you an idea of where you are in space. So that's a valuable tool for when you're walking, and then all this twisting and turning and rounding and filling and moving arms helps us keep not only build a motor skill and coordination, but keep our body fluid, because we can move. If you're sort of in isolation mode where your body doesn't move, then the tendency is to become rigid. So we want to try to avoid that rigid state by learning to manipulate our skeleton. Learn to manipulate the skeleton is the bones. So we learn to manipulate through a voluntary type of action. We want to make a circle, we want to turn our spine. So we're starting to engage the body in the way that the body is designed to move, and then we'll heighten that awareness and also spatial awareness, because if we deal with it within a space, then we can expand our movements better. Okay, so what we're going to do now is shift over like this and then try to balance. Go back to center, shift over, and bring the foot towards your center. So this type of shifting is learning how to balance and bring weight over the supporting leg. Okay, this is something that we don't practice a lot because, or you didn't even know how to practice this because you're not doing the type of physical activity that requires standing on one leg. So the Tai Chi Paradigm is one of those exercises that really heighten and enhance your ability to stand on a single leg. Okay, so that's really just bringing your weight. So right now my weight is in between the feet. If I shift over like this, so in order to shift, you have to let the hips relax. Now when I shift over, I get to a point where this foot wants to come closer. When I shift over, it reaches a point where this wants to come over. So what is that? That's the point of unweighting. And this becomes free. Now if you can't pick it up, gradually slide it over, and you actually don't want to pick it up like that. You want to let it drift over as if your legs are attached with a little spring that's pulling your foot in. And once it's here, you can find your center. And maybe not immediately because it takes a little bit of focus to find that. Now once we can do that, we're going to lift this leg and this hand. So this is called golden cockerel stance on one leg, or it's just a one-legged stance. Okay? So when we shift over, the whole body transitions across. Now we're relaxed here, and then we lift. Then we lift. Then we lift. So here's another good exercise you can do that's very simple to try to get used to standing on one leg. Okay, now you can feel when you stand on one leg the weight and the pressure going into that supporting leg. So there's a feeling there that you know that you have a lot of your weight on that one leg, or all of your weight. It's actually 100% of your weight at this point. Okay, so that happens when you actually take a step. Because once you make your transition to here, and you're going to take that next step, you have 100% of your weight on that supporting foot, and then you transition and make your next step. So this is just focusing on footwork so you can understand why we do all these exercises. Because so for the newer people that are watching, you say, well, why would I want to do all these exercises? Because it seems to be so complicated. But it's because we have to work our whole body in order for our body to feel integrated to do a simple thing like stand on one leg. So your body is very much involved in just standing because your arms are working, everything is working, not on a true physical level, but in a give and take, where your body is compensating and feeling where it is. So when we take that step, regardless of we moving like this or like this, we have to at some point support the total weight on the leg, because if you don't, you're going to end up just taking your step, and then you are always trying to catch up to where your body is because your center of mass is behind you. You have to bring your center of mass forward in order to make a good transition. Now, even though this is slow motion, you have to actually do that to sustain your control of that center. And that center is what we're really working with at this point. Okay? So just to find that center, we have to work the whole body so it starts to become much more nimble and much more controlled. So while we're working the whole body to build that, we're building all these sort of mechanisms to find that. Now I'm going to do this exercise facing this way. So you see the back side, the hands are going to do this. Okay, so this is a typical swing when you're walking. And if I take my right foot and I go like this, that's a position. When I go like this, that's a position. When I go like this, that's a position. So you could say that there's two different positions or two different postures. Now here, in order for me to move this leg and this leg, what do you think has to happen? I have to support my weight on this leg. Okay. So if you don't support most of your weight on that leg, you end up doing this. So that's something we should try to avoid because you're not in control. So try to do it like this. And we're not going to swing the leg, we're just taking a hand and a foot so they work like this. So when this hand is forward, my left hand, my right foot should be in front. And then when I go backwards, it's like the hands and feet are separating. Okay, so that's the relationship that we're trying to build. Now, even though we're not moving, forward in the sense of stepping, we're just controlling and building the coordination to the upper body and the lower body. Okay. So this is really how we walk. Because if I take this step and shift my weight, then my next step is going to do that. And then I'm going to work this side. So there is a method to the madness. In a sense, when you do this, you're building a program, and if movements are a motor skill, then we can build a program in this to understand what has to happen. and center. So we actually work this leg and build some understanding on this side of the body. Now we do this and bring this hand out and do this. We begin to learn to step to the side, because if I had to transition to here, I would have to do that, right? So it's opposite. So it's logical to think that, well, I'm sticking this leg out. The reason why we don't topple is because our body is fairly rigid and it's sustaining it. But really, if we're working off a true balance, we have to have a leg on this side and arms on that side to stay centered. All right, so the central position, the central equilibrium between the two hands and legs is something that's very important as a body mechanic. Body mechanics is something that happens as a relationship. So we're really kind of building an understanding of how the body should be shifting and moving. Now when I do this, even though I'm reaching that way, this keeps me balanced. But at the same time, you're working this leg. And you're building some range of motion. Now I'm not picking up the leg, I'm just kind of letting it slide a bit till it can go no further than this, and then back in. This, and then back in. This, and back in. So look forward, don't look to the side because you're going to drift that way. So you look, so you get a feeling of this, and your leg actually, the supporting leg will respond and compensate for how much strength it needs, in that leg to deal with the shift of position. Okay, deep breathing. Okay, so those few exercises we just worked on really worked the lower half of the body. We could do a lot of patterning up in the top and the upper body, which we'll be doing in a little while, to keep the upper body supple and try to build the avoidance of tension in the body and rigidity. On the lower half, we need to build motor skill and also build that coordination that we're so unfamiliar with. So we want to build more understanding of how we have to build this functionality, because the only reason why we move is to walk, which is a function. So functionality of movement is important. It's different from just standing and holding a position, because you don't have to move and you can move. In order to move, you have to actually let go and then let your body go through the motion. So that's something that we will build over time. Now the next thing we're going to do takes a little more coordination, and it does have more shifting of weight where the hands and the legs work together. So this is silk reeling. You're reeling, it's like pulling silk from a cocoon. The hands are moving continuously, and a lot of times when you're first doing this, you don't know whether to move the hand or the leg. Well, it's very simple in concept that we go forward and back. That's what we've been doing all along. Now, when I put my hand on my shoulder and put my hand on the hip, that's a reference point. If I turn my palms facing each other, that's a hold the ball position. Then I separate the hands. And I bring them back in one continuous circle. You see, this is one circle. That's all it's doing. Okay. On the back side, that's all it's doing. So on the back side, this hand is going to my right shoulder, and it's coming back down, and it's coming forward, and it ends up down here, and it comes back, and you go forward. So this is just doing this. This hand is just doing this. they're actually going in the same direction. Okay, so if I got to this position and you imagine the two hands holding a giant wheel, you can see that that's all you're doing is rolling it over. And then when it comes to here, we switch to here and then we roll it over again. We cross here and we roll it over again. Okay, you see that action, and then we coordinate with the forward and backward movement. Now sometimes doing it like this is helpful. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a sequence of events. It moves through 5 points before we get to a reset. So we go to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the reset. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it happens on the other side. So remember the front hand and the front leg, this one's just making a circle. So you see the hands and legs have to work in sync, but the hands are just doing this. So why is it a little difficult? Because it's kind of a multitasking. When the hands are like this, which kind of turning, and then we sit back, so you can see the big wheel. Okay, so that's an exaggeration. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll just do a couple more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 1 and 2 is back on this side. 3 and 4 is on this side. And then this is setting up to turn toward the front set of 1 and 2. All right, shake that out. Deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So where are all these exercises leading to? Actually, these exercises are leading to learning another part of the practice is learning the Tai Chi Paradigm form. Now, Tai Chi Paradigm form is made up of postures and transitions and sequence that has to be memorized, which becomes, a bigger challenge, in the beginning than it is after you learn a bunch of these movements or most of these movements and build the coordination. Some of the people that have been doing the class when we were able to have, live classes, in this location, they were able to learn some of the postures and the sequence. But now that we're streaming, you can actually follow any of these tutorials. You can go to, the different sites, whether it's the Parkinson's Foundation, or you can go to YouTube and look us up as CCMAA or calvinchin.com, Tai Chi for Parkinson's. You can look it up like that, or you can come to our website, and you can log in like that. And, as we progress, there's different venues that you can actually access these videos. Now, as we go through some of these forms, I think when we have about 10 minutes. Okay, so I really slowed a lot of this down for the newer people so that you can understand why we have to do so many of these different drills. So that was, one of the things that we did. Now we cross and open. Cross and open is another one. But every one of these drills has a specific format and direction of movement. So when we cross and open, they're just different planes of movement. When we go like this as preparation, that's the vertical plane of movement. So I want to do a few of these vertical plane of movements first. So you know that this is called preparation. So your elbows and knees have to fold. I try not to use the term bending, because when we use the word bending, it becomes kind of isolated and more physical. So we use the term folding. It seems a little bit more passive. Okay, now we're going to go to a stillness training where you hold the position, clear your thoughts, and this is the lower hoop. And then we go to the shoulder height hoop. Then we go to the eye level. There's 3 different levels. Now in this exercise, we just hold the lower one and the shoulder height one. Okay? Clear your thoughts, breathe through your nose, touches the roof of your mouth. This is called a hoop. This is elbow down position with the elbows pointing down in a vertical position. So we have this position. When you bring the fingertips together, you have the triangle. If you have the hands crossing, regardless of which hand is on the outside, you have a cross hand position. And then if you bring it back down, you have a palm down position. Then you have a fingertip position. So there's essentially 5 positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so those are the 5 positions that we hold, relax, and clear our thoughts as a standing meditation. And extend. So you can see that by holding this position with stillness and clearing your thoughts, if you're getting tired holding these positions in the beginning, it's because you have a bit of excessive tension. So your body will get tired because the energy required to hold some of these positions is excessive. So once you hold it for a while and the body gets comfortable, then it starts to delete any of the erroneous strength and anything that's not necessary to maintain that position. So then you can hold it a little bit longer and a little bit longer because your body's releasing the excessiveness, which is going to cause fatigue and discomfort because your shoulders would get tired or your body would be responding to that. So it's a good exercise to do to learn to release excessive tension in the body. So it's called standing meditation, but you have to have your arms in these positions so that you can identify with the posture and also the type of strength you're using to hold those positions. Okay, next. Okay, I'm going to go up and do the carry tiger to the mountain. The hands go up, go out, cross. Here's the cross hands, and here's the lower hoop. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So how do we remember the different positions? So just think of high, middle, and low, or low, middle, and high. So that gives you sort of a definition or the defining of that space. So high is in this area, generally using the forehead or the eyebrows as a reference point. Shoulder height, self-explanatory as shoulder height. Waist level, that's just about where your navel is. That's with the rounding. But when we straighten the arms out, it's kind of where your hips are. So depending on the movement, like when we do this, this is down to where the hip is. If we fold like this, then that's around where the navel is, or the space between. So those are low, middle, and high as well. Okay, now, the geometry of position is the triangle, the circle, and the square. Okay. That's a parallel position. That would be square. That's a slanting down as a direction, which is more transitional. Just like when our hands are like this and we go down like this, create a V, that's transitional. To bring your hands down, that happens when we do this and do this. So that's slanting up and down. So you define direction of movement based on the angle of the movement. So this is horizontal, this is vertical, okay? So when we go in this position where we're going to do the infinity sign, it's really in front of the sternum, or where the solar plexus. So that's really a figure 8. So there's a circular movement, you relax your shoulders and it creates a figure 8 on this side, and then the forming of the fist that's here. So this is a lot of different exercises that we can go over, each time we go through the class. For some of the new people, there's a form of communication that you can either, it's called chat, or maybe you can email us during the class. If there's someone that has a question, then we can try to address that during the class before a week goes by or another session goes by before we answer it. And hopefully you're tuning in so that you can at least get the answer to some of these questions. If I'm moving too fast, that's something I need to know. This is triangle position to strum the lute. All that is bringing one hand down and bringing it back up. One hand down, bring it back up. So you can't see from the side view, you can see from the side view actually, that it goes to about the elbow. I want you to use the mirror to see that it's sliding down the hand like this, and then it's turning around and coming back to the center. Slides down like this, it comes down. So each side begins to recognize the pattern. Now if I go like this and I move it before it gets there, then it becomes more of an integration of movement, and there's a lot more fluid motion here. So the fluid movement comes from making your transition and changing before the other hand gets there. So that helps you switch hands. That's switching sides. Okay? So we're here, right? Thumbs up. So the vertical hand on the top side is here. The bottom side is the one by the elbow. The top side, thumbs up, palms together. Now we're going to alternate the shoulders to build that relationship. Now, our whole body is made up of a relationship. We've disconnected that relationship by doing things in a very isolated fashion, and mainly because doing things today are not always physically functional. So we do a lot of things that doesn't support these movements because you're not doing them, or because we don't move our shoulders this way normally. At least we don't think we do. Okay, deep breathing. So movements have functionality, then movements should create an action, and has to be something that you can relate to it, that's tangible. So when I go like this, it's called reversing the ball. But it's like holding a steering wheel and you're turning. Or it's like taking, a spatula and flipping it over. So every action has a a purpose. So if you were to take, say, frying an egg, and you take a spatula and you're going to go underneath, you have a back and forth movement. If you flip it over, you have a black. Now sometimes you have to use both hands to work together in order to get that to happen. If you take a salt and pepper shaker and you tip it over and bring it back over, there goes your shoulder movement. So there's a lot of things that you don't pay attention to, but if I take it into this context of functionality and you can relate to the movement, you would realize that that's happening. But once we put it into this context, then there's some tension and restrictions that your body doesn't like. So that's because you have to mindfully get beyond and reinterpret what your action and movement is. All right, deep breathing. So anyone that's following the class that actually knows the exercises, we should go through these exercises, get the insights that I'm discussing with the newer people so that will heighten your understanding. Then at the same time, watch some of the Tai Chi Paradigm videos on the forum so that you can pick up on some of those postures again and strategies. So then, before we end, I'd like to at least get this portion of the movement in so you can do some walking. So when you go backwards, it's left, right, left. When you go forward, it's right, left, right. When you go backwards, it's left, right, left. And you go forward, it's right, left, right. Backwards is left, right, left. Forward is right, left, right. Okay? So initiate the step on the right, back. Okay, back is left. Now we're going to make a circle. This is clockwise. This is counterclockwise. So we're going to make one circle with 3 steps going forward. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now you're not taking giant steps forward, but you are doing steps that you're sustaining your body position before you take that next step and coordinate it with your hands. It's something I think is a good exercise, a valuable tool to begin to work your walking, your stepping, and your support. Okay, so your legs become the most critical part of finding that center and sustaining and supporting your body weight. Now, if you sustain and support your body weight as we take the step through, then you're going to have a lot more control when you're walking. Okay, a few deep breaths, and I think we're going to end the class. I have 12 minutes? Oh, okay. Okay, so we have still another 12 minutes, I understand. So we just worked on that forward stepping. 1, 2, 3. On 3, you should be down here. And we go backwards. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's actually walking forward. Now, we haven't done all the drills yet, so I'm going to take you through cloud hands. And what is that? That's really circular movements like this. So everything that we're doing is broken up into upper body and lower body. And what does that mean? The hands are the upper body, the legs are the lower body. All right? When we combine the two, we develop postures. When I do this, it's really these 2 circles. Offset and timing. So when I move the right, it goes like this. I move the left, it goes like this. So what happens, the other hand, when I move my right, my left hand has to come down here, and then it becomes the other half of the circle. Okay. Now we can turn from the spine, horizontally rotating the shoulders, and you actually will twist your vertebrae. Now, how stiff are most people's backs? Very, very stiff. Mainly because we don't turn the spine the way we should. Other than it's forced to turn, and then you get an injury, it's not actually dialed into your normal twisting. So that's something that goes away. It goes away because we don't use it. So we have to learn to twist. And we're not using a lot of strength, so you don't have to worry about damaging or injuring, anything in your back, because it's so gentle and soft that if you feel something, your body will let you know not to do that. So, work off what your body's telling you as well as copying the movement. Okay. Now, in the other classes, we've started walking to the side, which is what actually happens with cloud hands. At some point, I'd like to bring this into, the class as well, because we learn to move from side to side, we learn to move forward and back. These are all, directional things in taking us where we have to go. I mean, just moving from side to side, depending on if you can't turn if you're holding something, and you wanted to move from side to side, this is what you would have to do. You'd have to shift and shift if you were just holding something. So even, hanging a picture or something, you wanted to shift, you'd either move your body, or you'd have to hold it and then kind of gradually step aside. So sustaining a position is another thing that we learn when we're moving in the Tai Chi sequential type things from one posture to another. You have to sustain a position to move the other hand, or sustain a position to move. So the sustaining of a position, we do a lot of that. If you're holding a glass, you're sustaining a position and might be doing something with this hand. Or sustaining a position is holding this while we sort of cut into a piece of bread or whatever we need to slice into it, or even holding a head of lettuce and you're cutting it. You have to sustain this position while this actually is working together. And there's a difference in movement, because if you hold this like this, you don't move this one unless you're grating. You actually use this one if you're cutting. So there's different tasks that have different functionality. And when we learn to move in space, we're really building that coordination. It's the same network of actions that create functionality. So when we start to build, the virtuous side of it really takes our level of visualization and understanding even to a deeper level. Okay, now we're going to do a few deep breaths again. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So I'm going to go to the last exercise where we're going to do this, called raising the hand. So this is lift up, release the tension in this area, including your shoulder blades, so you can get your hand way up high so that you can get the hands feeling like they're going equal and opposite. So what's equal and opposite? Equal and opposite is balance. So the whole premise of Tai Chi is working off the principle of yin and yang, the philosophy of yin and yang, how we can balance our movement in more than just equal opposite, but passive and active emotions. Okay, palms down. Let's go deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. exhale. Inhale and exhale. Okay, shake it out. About time, Lucian? Okay, so the Tai Chi Paradigm is the sequence. It's a training method. It's actually a registered trademark, and all the exercises that we do in the Tai Chi for Parkinson's class are the identical exercises that we do in the typical Tai Chi Paradigm class. The dialogue and the strategies slightly different because of what our goals would be. So our goal, is building good motor skill and moving our body correctly. So while we're, to give you a sample, when we're working together, there's why we have to move our feet a specific way is because we're going to take a step forward, understanding how to control the movements in slow motion. Here's your vertical and here's your horizontal. If we toe out and step through, and this I call the linear form, we make a transition to the right side, and then we go forward, and then we go backwards. This is a posture. It's called grasp the sparrow's tail. And it's a series of 4 movements. Open, draw across. This is called single whip. This is hold the ball, shift, and diagonal flying. Shift, step up, press forward, shift, pass through your center, shoulder width, and raise the hand. Okay? You bend from the waist, stork flaps wings, and relax. So you can see how all of the movements that we're learning are kind of building blocks to a sequence. And why is learning sequence and developing these building blocks important? Because you build motor skill, you build neurons, you build memory, you build brain plasticity. All of this stuff happens because why? Because we're doing something that's required to generate those type of actions up in here. And what happens between the translation between what happens as understanding and perception is that the body starts to become more intelligent. And a lot of the things I call prevention of age-related degeneration, and the same thing applies to the people with Parkinson's, to prevent the progression. So what we try to do is work with movements, because everything is related somehow to a motor skill. We build off of that. But what is motor skill? Is manipulation of our skeletal structure, utilizing the major joints in our body as well as all the other connecting joints that make us put together as a human body. It's our anatomy. We learn to manipulate the skeleton by manipulating the musculature, and the musculature is manipulated by what we tell it to do based on what we want it to do. So along with that, it's just building a better understanding of how we can move. And by understanding how we develop it, then we can be conscious of that movement, we can be mindful of that movement, and then take movement that we never thought our body was capable of doing to a level of understanding that that you couldn't imagine. So that's really what it is. It's learning to do things that you couldn't imagine, so you'd be guessing that we could do this. But by doing this, we can know that we can learn long sequences, we can learn different postures, and build numerous combinations of these movements. And that's what a traditional martial arts person would do, is learn lots of different forms and lots of different sequences and different orders. And believe it or not, it's just like learning music. You learn songs, and if you play them long enough, you won't mix them up. When you're new at it, everything is scrambled. So that's the same thing that happens when we learn movement, that everything is kind of scrambled until you sort it all out. And then that sorting out actually helps you to become much more organized up here. So that's, what I think you should take away from this as an understanding and realize that, well, it's something that you can do, and it's graceful, it's soft, it's not very physical in the sense that it's demanding on a physical level. So you're not going to get, palpitations, or your heart's not going to speed up, and you're not going to be winded when you do this, but provided you're not putting too much physical action in it. If you make it physical, the things I just mentioned will happen as well. So on that note, I'll see you on Thursday, and watch and listen to this again.